right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Half Mile Hangout with me and my co-host here, Big Will, rocking the 2311 hat again this week. I got a new lid
Back to
on as
back.
well. Copped a new lid this weekend at Atlanta. It was a fun weekend of racing. A lot happened. A lot, didn't go my way, didn't go Will's way, but a lot did go people's way. He's rocking. Is that a Jordan jacket too?
Yeah, I had the Jordan quarter zip on at
Wow.
work today. Yeah,
Wow. This guy's bought in.
big Jordan guy.
This guy's bought in. Well,
Big Jordan.
today we're gonna go over obviously Atlanta weekend. Talk about a little bit about all three races, but mostly about the Cup race, and then we'll preview a little bit the race at COTA next weekend. We're gonna do picks in a separate video on Thursday, so we're gonna start dropping picks and paint schemes. Both will be two separate videos on Thursdays. We are happy to announce a partnership, I guess you would say, with the NASCAR Hall of Pretty Good. I've been following them on Instagram since they started. It's a pretty cool concept. Basically, they have their own, I guess you could say, requirements to be able to get in there. No more than 17 Cup wins, I think. No more than 3 lower series championships, no Cup championships, and you can't be a current member of the Hall of Fame. So, shout out to those guys. We'll have a special segment, trivia segment today, basically brought to you by them. So, rolling off of the introduction a little bit, let's talk about the truck race. I know you got to catch it. I know I was there, but I'm gonna let you kind of kick things off, talking about the Craftsman Truck Series Freight 208.
The truck series, man, that was an awesome race. I'm glad that was the one of the two races I got to actually see Saturday. It was fun, it was fast, that time limit, and it was frisky, right? I mean, it was a good all around race, and it's what the truck series should be, in my opinion. It was fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun. You got to see stuff that you wouldn't normally see. I mean, it started from top to bottom. You had Kyle Busch in a HendrickCars.com paint scheme Spire truck, which was just wild to see. And then he was working together with Carson Hocevar, and at one point it was Busch, Hocevar, and Stenhouse all there, like in the top 3, all jumbled up together. But I mean, it was an awesome race. I appreciate how it ended. Do I wish it would have just went the normal time and they would have ran the extra 15 laps? Sure, but overall, I enjoyed it. I don't think it like necessarily robs us of an outcome, because it had done the same. They had done the same thing 20 laps later, 15 laps later, whatever it was. So, and the only thing that I say we might have missed out on is, after that caution did happen, if there was no time limit, some more of that they might have started then anyway, still being aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they'd been kind of passive a little bit beforehand, but they might have started being aggressive, and we might have got 20 extra laps of that going on and seen whatever else we could have seen. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a really fun race to be at. As a Hocevar fan, it was exciting. It was cool to see, him and Kyle Busch work together, and kind of what I was telling my dad was, you could tell the difference between when, they were racing each other and when they were racing together, because when they were racing together, there was nobody who was beating them. They were probably the 2 fastest trucks on the track. I don't know. Ben Rhodes had a really fast truck. Ran out of fuel at the end of stage 2, and then ran it all the way back up to 4th at the end of the race. But when the 2 Spire trucks connected, it was special to watch. You mentioned Ricky Stenhouse. Corey Haim was also up there. I think he won stage 1.
That was a good looking truck too.
He was really fast. He was really fast in that Tricon #1 truck. And all in all, it produced a really fun race. But I guess we'll move on to the O'Reilly Series race. I guess I would describe it as messy a little bit. There were some times there when you were, I don't know, on the edge of your seat, but there were some cautions that felt like they were very easily avoidable in that race. And I know I posted on our story a little bit about like I'm not sure what Corey Day was doing on the racetrack Saturday. I'm not. I've been pretty high on Corey Day. I think he's a good prospect, but right now he just doesn't have the car control to be in a car that fast. And I think Freddie Kraft kind of touched on that, talking about Cletus the fact that he was in the top 10 truck basically. And we love Cletus McFarland, but there's parts of what he's saying that's right. I mean, it's okay to go out there and run 20th or so and be a little bit loose or have a little bit more be a little more timid versus Corey Day's in probably a top 10 car on the track every week, and he's fast, he's got a lot of raw speed, but he doesn't have a lot of car control, and he caused 2 accidents, one of which was on lap 3. I know Ryan Sieg let him hear it in his interview after, but he was kind of a wrecking ball out there, not in terms of aggressiveness, but just in terms of lack of car control. And you kind of saw that in a lot of the accidents. Like Sammy Smith looked a little bit out of control in his accident, and it was a tough day for Junior Motorsports. I mean, at one point you're at the racetrack, you can't really talk, so I elbowed my dad and I was like, Junior Motorsports has all 4 cars running in the top 6 right now. It was Junior Motorsports, Junior Motorsports, Junior Motorsports, and then Sammy Smith was running in 6th. And then all of a sudden you get to the end of the race and you got 3 guys finishing, I think 30th or worse, with, Raja Karuth, who had problems all day, but handled his car well, kept it out of trouble, and he ended up coming home with a 10th place finish. But I guess we'll talk about the end of that race a little bit more. I thought it was awesome. I mean, nobody wanted to watch Austin Hill win that race, if we're being completely honest. He's dominated super speedway racing and Echo Park in general, especially since the reconfiguration. And, Ross Chastain, my dad was like, he's got a really fast car. And I was like, I don't know if it's a fast car or if you're really seeing the gap in skill set between the top half of Cup drivers and the O'Reilly's field. Now, there's some guys in the O'Reilly's field that could compete at the Cup level, no doubt about it. But, that's a car that we're not used to seeing at the front, the 32, for I think Jordan Anderson Racing. And, he got it all the way up to the front and was able to maintain the lead for a while there. Austin Hill makes the pass in 3 and 4, and then obviously we all know what happened coming back around in 3 and 4. Austin was a little bit late to block. I'm not sure how you can call that Chastain wrecking Hill. I feel like, if you're late to block, you're late to block, and that's, the dangers of super speedway racing. Now, Hill made an incredible save to save points and stuff like that, and ultimately what gets overshadowed is Sheldon Creed gets his first win, long-awaited win in the O'Reilly series. And my dad actually tapped me with 3 to go and said that 00 is going to win. And I was like, he's like 4 rows back. Like, what are you talking about? And then after the race, he even admitted, he was like, it was just a lucky guess. And I was like, yeah. But it was awesome to see him get that win. It's a much-deserved win for him. He's a great guy, a great driver. And he's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. He's got a lot of second place finishes in his career. So that was just my interpretation of the finish. What did you kind of see there, or did you get to watch it at all? I'm not sure. I'm sure you saw the replays. I didn't watch
the race, but I saw the finish. And I saw a couple laps throughout here and there. I'd flick it on, but I mean, seemed like a good race. I don't know how it was up until really the end and stuff, but the ending was cool. It was cool to see some stuff shuffle around. It was cool to see. That's just Atlanta, since the reconfiguration, has put out so many good races from top to bottom, and it's truly one of the only tracks that you see now that caters to all 3 series. Like it is a good track for all 3 series, and it's honestly just impressive with what they've done over there that they're able to do that. That's my big takeaway from all the races this weekend, is that like Atlanta is one of the best tracks all the way around the board right now. And absolutely. I can't wait for the summer race there. I mean, it's going to be freaking awesome to watch that also.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll roll into the Cup race, but before we do that, we're gonna give you a new segment. It's our trivia segment brought to you by the NASCAR Hall of Pretty Good. We all know at this point that Tyler Reddick was able to win at Atlanta, back-to-back wins for Tyler Reddick. So my question for you is going to be, Tyler Reddick is the first back-to-back winner to start the season since this guy in 2009.
So I had seen that it had been 2009. I saw someone posted on Twitter this week, but I don't recall seeing the driver.
If it gives you any more insight, this guy had a pretty lackluster year after winning the first two races of the year that year.
So it wasn't just two in a row. It was the first two races of the season. The 500 that year would have been 2009. I'm going to go on a limb. And the only reason I think I know this is because huge Carl Edwards fan growing up, right? I think he was teammates. No, he wouldn't have been teammates with Carl Edwards. No. Maybe. No. I'm leaning, is Matt Kenseth there?
Yeah, it is Matt Kenseth. He was still at Roush.
He was still at Roush?
Yeah, he was still at Roush.
When did he go to JGR? Is that where he went afterwards?
I think he goes to JGR in 2011 because I think Joey drives it from 08 to 2010.
Was this the Crown Royale cars?
He may have driven it that year, but it was primarily the DeWalt.
Yep.
But that's the trivia question of the day, brought to you by the NASCAR Hall of Pretty Good. So now rolling into the Cup race at Atlanta, just an unbelievable race, start to finish. Broke the record for lead changes at the Speedway. They said 56 with 3 to go, and I think at the line there was 2 more lead changes. So I think we ended up with 58 lead changes at the line, which is just awesome racing. Everybody wants to see that type of racing. It's, the next gen car, the main gripe has been you can't really pass. Well, at Atlanta, you can pass, and you can pass a lot of cars fast. I mean, we saw that Reddick restarted that first, before that first caution, he restarted in 20th and got all the way up to 3rd before the first green white checkered.
Have you seen the in-car camera footage from that 2-lap run that he goes on? It's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Denny ended up finishing 13th after that wreck that I thought was going to take Denny and Reddick out of the race. I thought they were both done after that when it first happened. That's insane that they were both able to do that.
Yeah, it was a great race from start to finish. Reddick, you can't really say enough about him right now. He's hot. No right fender on that car, like you said, after the accident with Hamlin, with I want to say lap 220 something maybe, so 40-ish to go. He drives it from 20th to 3rd and then ends up getting the lead and closing it down there at the end, which, as we've kind of talked about, it's going to make a fun race win car for Lionel to produce. But as we've both talked about as well, that paint scheme is just hideous.
It somehow got worse than the Chumba Casino one.
Yeah, and I didn't think it could get much worse.
It makes the Chumba Casino one look like the greatest paint scheme to ever come out.
Yeah, but
what even is Pinnacle? I don't even know what it is. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Pinnacle? I think it's like a banking firm or something.
So they're going the financial route with the banking institution,
and the casino. Yeah.
So
but I guess kind of start at the beginning. No qualifying, so they went off the metric as per the rule book. So Reddick did start on the pole. Right? No, yeah. So that's what I was talking to my dad about. I was like, Dad, this is the first time that these guys have even felt their cars on this track this year. They had no idea basically going into it, and which kind of, points to the skill of those guys with running so many clean laps there at the beginning with a lot of passing going on up front. We saw Reddick up front, we saw Elliott up front, we saw Larson, we saw Byron, we saw Bubba. There was a lot of cars at the beginning of that race up front, and being able to change leaders and create runs, and it's a it's a testament to the skill of those guys while having not been in those cars, and it's also a testament to just how important the sim racing aspect has become for these guys. But we had some cautions in the race. Josh Berry was running really well. That's another guy that was in the lead early. He got tangled up with Ty Gibbs in the first accident of the day, which ended up catching the grass on fire. It was actually a pretty bad wreck looking back at it. But there were a lot of fans there excited to see Ty Gibbs not able to make it to the finish. But nobody's ever rooting against the Wood brothers. So I saw a post on Twitter. You'll probably like this. It said, has Josh Berry ever wrecked without race-ending damage or just car-destroying damage or a DNF? And I don't know that I remember it.
He stays clean or he's out the race.
That's what it seems like.
It's one way or the other. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna hold up for him on a season-long points that leads to a chase, but we'll see how that works out. Hopefully, he was able to figure something out.
Yeah, and then moving on to another caution that occurred at the end of stage 2. Kyle Larson knocks himself out of the race, basically making just a stupid mistake, coming down on Van Gisbergen there, who saved it, and we'll get more into him shortly, but I don't know if that's a spotter issue, if that's a driver just miscommunication, but I mean, that was brutal. Like, that looked like something you would see at your local short track. Just a guy coming. I mean, he came down 2 lanes. He was on the top and came all the way down to the bottom because SVG was running that bottom groove basically as if they were 3 wide, which they weren't. And then I know I saw the in-car cam, and Larson was like, I didn't know we were 3 wide. And the spotter was like, we weren't. So I don't know what that was about. Coming to the end of the stage, the difference between 1 point. You got any opinions on that, or what do you think do you think it was just a brain fart, or?
Got to be right, but I just think it's impressive, honestly, how bad Hendrick overall is struggling.
Yeah.
The whole organization, and it's not any different. Like, them and JGR, for whatever reason, are having a nightmare of a start to the season here.
So I mean,
Chris Bell taking himself out late. I don't know what Hendrick is doing.
I saw a tweet.
Chase Elliott's doing all right.
I saw a tweet out of the first, so they both have 4 entries, obviously, into both races. So that's 16 combined entries. Only 2 cars in the 16 combined entries have not been involved in an accident in the first 2 races. It was Chase Elliott at Atlanta, and Chase Briscoe at Atlanta.
Chase Elliott's probably the only one that's got a top 10 in either of the races either, out of the 8 cars.
Chase Briscoe finished second at Atlanta, but that's started in 34th and finished in second. He actually made me some money. He saved my money on my fantasy picks this week. I guess we'll talk a little bit about SVG because it needs to be talked about at this point. If you remove one accident from Daytona, I think you're looking at SVG at like 7th or 8th in the points right now. Now, obviously, you can't say he didn't wreck. He's still in the chase right now at 16th, but he has looked really impressive thus far on the 2 ovals, and even at Atlanta, he said in an interview after the race he felt like a Kubota lawnmower, taking 2 spins through the grass, saved it both times, was able to not damage the car, not damage the aero or anything, and finished the race in 6th place, which is just, that's a strong run from SVG at an oval. So, he
looked good at Daytona too.
Yeah, and I think that guys should be a little bit worried about it. Not worried, but he's a good race car driver. We know that. He was great in supercars. He obviously came over and started dominating the road courses. But if he can figure out the ovals, he can put together a really good point season. Saying that Zilich doesn't steal a few wins from him on those road courses, but if he's able to put together a road course season similar to last year, He doesn't have to win 6, but he wins 4. And he's able to average that top 15 finish and be able to compete for stage points at the ovals. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with coming towards the end of the year.
100%. He looks good. You have to wonder how much time he put in on the sim this offseason, because that's what it was. 100% what it was. That dude has been working this offseason, and you can tell. You can tell 100%. You started to see it a little bit at the end of last season. Started to run a little bit better on ovals, and I mean, it has just been night and day difference. I mean, we noticed it at the freaking Clash. That is a short track, brother, and he was wheeling. Granted, it was wet. I know there were some different circumstances that allowed him to excel, and he really turned it on in those circumstances. But he looked good at Bowman Gray.
Yeah, and then 2 more guys I want to kind of highlight for the race at Atlanta. Both teammates, both Spire Motorsports teammates. First off, I guess we'll talk a little bit about Carson Hocevar. Obviously, there's going to be some banter about some of the moves he made late, but to run in the front at the beginning and blow the tire, go 2 laps down, he was able to get 2 straight free passes, get back on the lead lap, save enough fuel, keep his car out of trouble. Even at one point we were all like, after he finished 6th in stage 2, he just rode at the back the whole first 30 laps of stage 3.
I didn't even know what happened to him.
Yeah, I was wondering, if he had aero damage or something was going on there. To be able to run it all the way back to the front is telling of a very good young driver, obviously a very aggressive young driver. But getting to, I guess we'll cover a little bit what happened there on that second to last restart with Christopher Bell. I know a lot of the blame will be pushed onto him there, which there was a hole. It's probably not a car-sized hole, but Chastain was on his back bumper shoving him. He can't lift there. If he lifts, he causes a 20-car pileup behind him. And Christopher Bell did go up the racetrack, which left some space. And then, Bell and Bubba kind of pinched a little bit, which causes the accident. But, I think it's just so fun. I know I'm a little bit biased, but I know NASCAR fans are coming around to having somebody who's willing to be that aggressive for a win. That's something the sport's been missing for, probably since, Kyle Busch's earlier days at Joe Gibbs, and even, into 2019. But I would say since 2019, we haven't really seen anybody just willing to do something like that to just try to go get that win. And I think that's something the sport's been missing for a long time.
I was thrilled with his performance on Sunday. I enjoyed watching it. I'm going to enjoy watching him probably for the rest of the season. He'll get one day. It just didn't happen to be yesterday. But, I don't know that. And honestly, it's Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is the reason we got the outcome of the race we got, because I think if Bubba stays with Tyler, he probably still wins the race.
That's what I'd say. I said that I think if Bubba stays with Tyler, I think it's Bubba and Carson at the line.
Probably. The problem is, at some point, they're going to pull the chair out on Carson anyway.
Yeah.
Like they did, and he's probably going to fall back. That's what happened. They just pulled it out on him. He had no help behind him. But maybe you could argue that Suarez would have got there for him.
That was the next guy I was going to talk a little bit about. Suarez has been pretty good this year.
Will win a race this year.
He has been pretty good this year.
Suarez in a Spire car will win a race this year, 100%.
Yeah, and he has been good at Atlanta in the past. He obviously has a win there. He was one of the guys who kind of ran in the back for the majority of the day, just trying to stay out of trouble. And, when the time came, he was able to step on that gas pedal. And at one point, it was him and Carson carving up through the field. And he was able to get up there to 5th place. And, I think that a lot of the two of their success will depend on how well each of them can run. Because, we know that Carson doesn't have many friends in the field. And, there's only 3 Spire cars out there. And Michael McDowell, he's good at some tracks, but he's been struggling a little bit to keep that car in shape. So how much do you feel like a Hocevar win, a Suarez win, is just kind of dependent on how well they're able to work together, and if they can be at the front of those races together like they were on Sunday night, at the end, right when it's time to go.
I think it depends where they are. I want to start by saying I think Suarez has put in a lot of work to get better. We noticed it, called it out. Another guy at Bowman Gray that was wheeling and dealing on a short track. That for me just amplifies like he has stepped up his craft. If you're going to be able to do that there, you have stepped up your craft. You worked at your craft because it's a very technical, tight racetrack, right? But what we are seeing now, in the standings, and these first two races have been a big indicator of it. Is not only do I think the playing field is more even across the board with the equipment and everything, but teams are now working together. The advantage that Hendrick, that JGR, that Penske has had all these years is the strength in numbers. They've had 3-4 cars, whatever, out there competing, actually competing, and being able to get their guys to work together and be in the front of the pack. Well, now you're seeing Spire work together. You're seeing these two cars that we've been talking about, Hocevar and Suarez, work together. You're seeing 2311, 3-car team working together to get their cars to the front, and that's what it takes for these middle tier teams to be able to push it up to the next level. And we're seeing that now. And I think it overall is a great thing for the sport. You want it to be as competitive as possible. And that was part of their whole reasoning with these, when they brought out the next gen car or whatever, and wanting them to be as like close to similar as possible. Like, gone are the days where you're going to have Richard Petty out there 3 laps ahead of everyone else in the field, like running circles around everyone. Like, you want it to be competitive. You want it to be a close race, and you want everyone to have a chance realistically, especially with this whole charter system and everything. Like, and now you've got that. Now teams are starting to work together like these big powerhouse teams were, and you got to think those dudes are on the hot seat, right? I mean, we've touched on Hendrick a little bit, how they've been. JGR hasn't quite been there. Penske's been a little bit better, but like, I mean, what do they have to show from these first 2 weeks? Like, it is going to be a bloodbath of a season, in my opinion, I think. And
I think we'll see a lot more winners than we've seen recently.
I'm so ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for it. I mean, and there's a good chance that Spire get to win this, or not Spire, that Trackhouse get to win this week coming up.
Yeah, they got 2 of the best, if not the 2 best road course drivers in the field, which is, I guess, a great place to roll us over to a little bit of talk about COTA.
We gotta hold on though. We gotta give our rating for this past week.
That's
we can't move on without our rating.
All right, so
I'll let you go first this week. I think I went first last week.
Yeah. Out of 10, for the race itself, just so exciting, start to finish. I'm gonna give it a 9.4. I think it was just about as good as it gets in this next gen car. I could have done without maybe 1 or 2 of the cautions, but all in all, just the passing, the runs, being able to see those cars get runs out of the corner, into the corner, through the dog leg. I guess you call it a double dog leg at Atlanta. But, yeah, I'm going to go with a 9.4.
You think it was that much better than Daytona?
Yeah, it was significantly more exciting. Every lap you
gave Daytona what, like a 8-1 or something?
I think 8-2. 8 flat. Maybe 8-1, 8-2. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a full point better because at Daytona, you could have turned the race off for 40 laps. At Atlanta, if you miss a lap, you might miss the biggest thing that happens in the race. And that's what separates it for me, is just the ability to have consistent, competitive racing up front, in the back, in the middle of the pack. I mean, you're on a random lap in stage 2 and guys are 3 wide in the middle of the pack, and that's what separates it from Daytona for me.
You also have the bump that you were there in person.
No doubt.
And got to experience it there in person. All the points you made were good. I originally was going to say 9-1, I'm gonna bump it to a 9.2. All the points you made were great. Because I had gave Daytona an 8.9. I still think that Daytona race was an outstanding race. I'll go 9.2 on the Atlanta race. Solid A minus.
Yeah.
I mean, it was as good as I think it could have been. The exciting part about Daytona, you're right, it didn't come till the end. That fuel saving and those green flag pit stops at Daytona is what really saved that race, I think, and why I gave it such a good grade. But there was some really exciting action all throughout this one. So, especially at the stage breaks and stuff like that, that was missing a little bit, I think, at Daytona, and you saw it really here. And I don't know how this new points format's going to change how people race those stage breaks, but
I think we've seen a lot more aggressiveness.
Really, I think that more so might just be the tracks. Like, I think that might be the tracks that we're at.
I guess we'll see.
Hope you're right. I hope it continues to be aggressive, but I mean, and that'll get interesting. This will be a good transition for us right here into this next race. The road courses and those stage breaks have been pretty weird because people are trying to jump the stages and stuff. That's what we've seen. The big thing was last year was people were pitting with a lap or 2 laps left right before pit road closes to try to jump the next stage, and jump the end of the race ultimately. I don't know. I'm excited. This isn't my favorite road course that we'll see this year by any means, but I guess I'll let you get us started on what you're expecting this week.
Yeah. So, one thing, probably the number one, storyline for me is we'll get to see, quote unquote, Zilich versus SVG in both the O'Reilly's race and the Cup race this weekend. Obviously,
are they both Junior Motorsports cars for the?
Yeah, I think SVG's in the 9 and Zilich is in the 88, or maybe the 1. Zilich is in the 1 this week. But yeah, I mean, obviously a long-awaited road course debut in the Cup car for Zilich. I think he ran COTA last year, but he got wrecked out early. He's going to be in a full-time car this year. He's a little bit more used to it. But there's a lot of guys at COTA. We kind of talked about this earlier today. It's a little bit unlike some of the other road courses where, we've seen a lot of parity at COTA. We've seen a lot of guys who don't typically dominate road courses get wins at COTA. We've seen Will Byron. Obviously, Chase Elliott's a pretty good road racer. Bowman's a pretty good road racer. Tyler Reddick's won at COTA. Christopher Bell's won at COTA, and frankly, last year was probably going to go to Kyle Busch, if not. I think Christopher Bell gave him a little shove. I remember seeing the video in pit road after that, if I recall correctly. But, it'll be interesting to see qualifying times. I think that's going to determine a lot of it. At a road course, it's harder to bring it from the back. It's not at all impossible. Especially if you can do what guys like SVG do, where you're taking one less stop than everybody else. But I'm excited. I'm as excited for a road course race as I have been in a long time. Last year, especially towards the end of the year, it was like, here we go again. SVG domination. But this year, I feel like the field will be a little bit more even. I feel like Circuit of the Americas is a little bit more parity on the track there. AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell are two guys who are very good at road courses and do not have a great average finish at Circuit of the Americas. So it's going to be exciting. We all want to see the duel between SVG and Connor Zilich at the end like we saw in the Xfinity Series last year. But, it could be a duel between, Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch again. It could be William Byron and Alex Bowman teammates going at it. You never know at this track, and I think that's what makes it, a staple on the schedule at this point.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I'm as excited as I can be for a road course. I think we'll learn a lot this week. We'll see how some people can bounce back. We'll see how people respond. Bubba's already joked, like, we'll try not to mess up too much next week at the road course, which I think is funny. Denny Hamlin will talk about how much he hates his life at a road course this week, I'm sure, multiple times throughout the weekend. But I think it'll be a good race. I'm excited to see what McDowell does this week, a traditionally good road course guy who's struggled this season so far. Um, some of those other Hendrick cars, obviously, I'm excited to see what'll happen over.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging with us today. A little bit longer episode than normal, but a lot to cover from an exciting 3 races in Atlanta, and looking forward to a really good weekend in Austin, Texas. Obviously, after COTA, we go to Phoenix and Vegas, and then we get the trio of southeastern short tracks as we go Darlington, Martinsville, Bristol. So it'll be an exciting run of races here coming up on the schedule. A little bit, well, not a little bit, but a lot different from the racing we've seen so far this year. And we look forward to being with you guys and bringing you guys coverage for that. Like the video, subscribe. Like I said, we're over on Spotify now. See us over there. Follow us on Instagram. Go shoot a follow to the NASCAR Hall of Pretty Good on Instagram as well. We're gonna have some more content coming with those guys sometime soon. And I'm not going to spoil that too much for you, but, we're looking forward to it a lot. And we'll catch you guys on Thursday with our paint schemes and our predictions for this weekend. Peace.